We're heading out to ride at Saguaro National Park today. It's a beautiful day. We've got about an 18-mile trip out to the park, and it's 13 of that is on a dedicated bike path, and the rest is on roads, which aren't too bad. Nice shoulders. And almost all flat. A little bit of climbing on the way to the park, but pretty easy 18 miles. Part of the reason I love where I live is it's so close to the Tucson Loop, which we're getting on here. And this is going to take us 13 miles. And then after 13 miles we have 5 miles on road to get out to the park.
The Tucson Loop is a network of protected, paved, recreational routes there's 130 miles total of the loop. The main loop, which makes a kind of rectangle around the city of Tucson, is 54 miles. And then there are several extensions, one going up to Oro Valley, which is about 15 miles north of the city, and another that goes out to the town of Marana, which is about 10 miles to the northwest of the city. So all told, it's a great network for cyclists, for runners. You see people on horseback even, a lot of hikers as well. And it's really a great resource that we have in the city here. The annual Loop the Loop ride has been going on for 5 years, and it happens in September. And it's an opportunity for you to ride the loop. You can ride it in its entirety around Tucson, the 54 miles, or you can hop on and off wherever you want. And the sponsors of the Tour of Tucson, which is a road ride that brings in over 5,000 riders, that happens in November. This is an opportunity for them to set up way stations on the Loop to Loop ride, and they give out refreshments and information about their organization. So it's pretty crowded. I think probably 1,000 or 2,000 people participate in some form on the Loop to Loop, but it's kind of a fun ride, and it serves as a precursor to the more rigorous Tour of Tucson in November.
A lot of the loop, the path goes on both sides of the river. You can see it over there. And this is one of the points where it ends on my side, so we cross over to continue east. These guys are hardcore up here. A hand cycle, no leg power. This is one of the newer sections of the loop, built about 2 years ago. Before that, there was this go around on city streets that was really unpleasant, full of traffic, so I never even rode out here until they built this connector, because it was just too dangerous. But this new part, city finally got the rights, and it's about 2.3 miles.
The loop is a really important resource for cyclists, and anyone on foot, because Tucson is not a very safe place to be out on the roads. In fact, a few years ago, it was named the second deadliest city for cyclists. And I think the reason behind that is there's not a lot of awareness on the part of drivers of cyclists. Other cities, large cities, San Francisco, Seattle, people are very conscious of bikes and they're used to seeing them in traffic. Here is not the case. We still have a long way to go. I believe there were over 100 fatalities between pedestrians and bicyclists in 2020. There was even one day in November where there were 3 fatalities in one day, which is just terrible statistics. So, the city is working on building more bike lanes and protected space, but the loop is really above and beyond because there are no cars on it at all. So you don't have to worry about risking your life to another vehicle.
We're doing another crossover here to the north bank.
The loop is a very convenient resource for recreational users. Mostly because of the extent of it. There's 130 miles, and also that it makes a rectangle around the city of Tucson, so it goes through much of the city. So wherever you live in Tucson, you're rarely more than a mile or 2 from access to the loop. Where we live in North Tucson, it's very convenient because it's about a quarter mile down a hill to access the loop, which was really one of the selling points when we moved here 5 years ago. The rules of the loop are similar to any other recreational trail that you find in other cities. It's much like a road in that the faster traffic passes on the left, and it's considered good etiquette to let somebody know that you're passing. So I keep a bell on my bike, and if you don't have a bell as a cyclist, you announce passing left. And most people understand the rules. The hikers stick and the runners stick to the right side of the path. And if the path is clear, you stay on the right as you would in a motor vehicle. And most people are pretty understanding of the rules, and you don't find a lot of people that break them. The Tucson Loop officially became the Loop by name in 2012, but the reality is the access and the pathways began to be built about 35 to 40 years ago. And the reason for that was originally the Loop was access for flood control. So there was a very large flood in 1983, and it was in a pretty remote and hard to access area. So the flood control personnel built a pathway and a railway along the side of the river, and that was really to enable access to the river in times when it was needed during the flood. So they noticed one of the side effects of this was a lot of recreational users began to use this trail, and at the same time the city knew that there was a lack of recreational trails in the area.
We're at the end of the 13 miles now. Now we're going onto the road for the next 5, so time to turn the lights on, and unfortunately music goes off for now. Until we get to the park. We go through this kind of maze of a neighborhood, and as you can probably see, the pavement is really bad. It's like a jigsaw puzzle, so it's bumpy. Not the best riding conditions, but gets us there. Took some few times studying a map to figure out the best way through this neighborhood.
Over the years, more and more trailways were built around the flood zones around Tucson, and it originally started on the Rillito River, but was extended all the way around Tucson. There was the Tanque Verde wash, and they started building trail around that, and then the Santa Cruz River, which runs from downtown, and then finally the last part was what's called the Julian Wash, which is on the south side of the city. So this was all done over the span of 40 years, piecemeal, but it was only about 8 years ago where officially it was named the Loop, and it was only 3 years ago that the last segment encircling Tucson was completed, and that was a pretty fun day. They held a big party down in Keno Park to officially dedicate the completed loop around Tucson.
Almost there. Here we are at the entrance to the park.